Hey all, welcome back to Tony Hawk's Proving Ground. I'm Aesthetic with the same crew. We got Blank Tester.
Hey kids, how's it going?
And Canuck Dude.
Howza!
And these are the arcade machines for Baltimore. Again, if you're just watching this video, I'm showing off the arcade machines in the areas classified under Baltimore. I'm showing off Classic and Hawkman for each. I'm not showing off High Score Run since that's exactly what it says it is. And at the end of the last video, where it was the arcade machines for Philly, we were kind of having a discussion about, some serious discussion on that, so I'm going to kind of continue on that real quick. That's sort of, if you've been following Tony 20, you've seen kind of my thought process going into each game is to first and foremost sort of treat it as, its own entry and see what it does well or whatever.
And not like first try to put it in the context of just itself. Put it in the context of
and give each game a real fair shot to, show you what it has, especially again Proving Ground, which I've, said several times, it's just the unknown game, and I seriously learned so much more playing it than I did, hearing what other people said about it. And that's, I sort of want to go into that a little bit more, that I was not playing the Tony Hawk series as a kid when this game came out. I played, as a kid, I played Tony Hawk through Underground 2, and then I got into, first-person shooters and was a Halo fan for the next, 5 years or whatever. And so, I didn't have hype for this game, when it was coming out, and I didn't get, disappointed by what it was or wasn't when it came out. And so, coming back to it now and playing it, for the first time for Tony 20, I can't feel kind of the disappointment that might be associated with, what this game is. You hear kind of that mantra of it's not the Tony Hawk series anymore, it's, it's something else. And to me, I can't feel something like that, because again, I wasn't there, I heard about, what it was from everywhere else on the internet, so I knew what it was going to be when I got to it. Now, if Vicarious Visions, Tony Hawk 1 and 2 remake that came out a few months ago was bad, I could be disappointed about that, because we were, teased, taking what was, shown before the game came out, and then taking how it played to have come out and, being there at that time. Hopefully I described that right. In summary, again, I knew what this game was going to be, or I knew that this game was going to be different, since I didn't play it at the time. So I just, that was just a ground rule, a solid ground rule that wasn't going to influence my opinion.
Yeah, I do want to say, there was apparently this reaction of disappointment when the game came out from the community, but us looking back in hindsight, we can look at this game and say, not a bad game, certainly not the worst game with the name Tony Hawk on it. We all know that now. So, if the people who had that disappointment had that context, I don't think this game would have gotten such a heavy, feeling of disappointment. Maybe it still would have, to some degree, but at the same time, it's the same thing as when boomers look at reboots of franchises, when boomers look at the reboot of Wolfenstein or Doom, and they go, this isn't my Wolfenstein or Doom, and it's it's not your Wolfenstein or Doom. This is a new game, built on what was great about the old stuff, and trying to do something new for a new generation. And if it didn't work, I think the reason this game didn't work to continue the Tony Hawk trend was because the whole industry was a little bit tired of extreme sports.
Yeah.
It's not this game's fault, and it's not even the other games that came before its fault. It was a losing battle to begin with.
Especially, I know another thing we talk about a lot in comparison to these games is the Skate series. In the Skate series, is brought up a lot when this game is mentioned, because, again, to bring up Rad Rat, but I think he put it really well when he said, if this game was, like, shooting Tony Hawk in the foot, then Skate shot it in the head.
Yeah.
Because very clearly and obviously you can see sort of the design ethos of Skate isn't extreme. It's smooth. It's cool.
Yeah.
It's kind of suave.
And, that was the difference between the 90s and the 2000s. The 90s was all about being wild and fucking crazy, and it's kind of an extension of, like, the 80s and the punk attitude. And, like, the 2000s, just as a culture, American culture, was a lot more about being cool. And so...
Yeah.
And you see that in movies and games, and, it permeates the entire culture that way. And so this game was trying to still kind of straddle the line in an awkward sort of way.
Yeah.
You can definitely see even from Project 8 to this game, a bit more of that move away from extreme dude to more kind of like a cool little, like
and
a more
set
subdued
PC
color
sort of
palette.
Yeah. And like also the expansion of the nail the blank systems is another example of that, because like nail the grab, nail the trick, nail the manual and all that. Yeah. It's like having all of those things gives you fine-tuned control over what your board's doing, but you're never going to like use that system to do the absolutely bonkers tricks you see in like SSX or the crazy stuff you could do in the previous Tony Hawk games. And you can still do some of that stuff here, but not in the systems that are being emphasized in this game. So it's kind of, they have it, but it's de-emphasized. And then at that point, it's like, do we need it? Is it only here for legacy purposes, or is it here because it's really integral to the game?
Yeah, I mean, that sort of summarized my thoughts of, the classic mode in Hawkman here, where it does feel like it kind of goes against the, the main, like, story mode of the game, in that the main story of the game slowed the gameplay down, and here you're expected to, play as, fast and crazy as in the original Tony Hawk games, and that is hard to do. That is a challenge to do, kind of, so, yeah, it definitely is some legacy stuff left over. Like, you could still input a 900 and do a backflip while doing so, but then, at the same time, like, a bunch of the pro episodes, especially like Stevie's one, were about, make this one trick look real good, kind of. Yeah. I mean, I agree with you on,
And you know what? I think if they hadn't included that stuff, the pushback from the community would be even stronger, that this isn't my Tony Hawk, this isn't a Tony Hawk game, and in fact, that's exactly the reaction we have when we find out there's no special bar anymore. Like, oh, you can just do special tricks, you don't have to build up the special bar? Like, really, is the special bar even at home in a system like this? I don't know. I don't know if adding a special bar would improve the game. But because we expect it, because we're coming in with assumptions, or we're coming in with expectations, that may it's honestly probably a good thing they cut the special bar, and it's probably would have been for the sake of just making a good skateboarding game. If you didn't have to think about the rest of the history of the series, it may even have been a better idea to just center the entire tricking system around the nail thing and not have the other stuff. I don't know. That may not be a good idea, but I'm just thinking about it out loud. Something that's really focused on being extremely minute and focused with the tricks. Instead of making it a thing where you have 2 minutes to get goals, or there's a story mode where you have to, do a certain number of, like, skate checks or whatever. Instead, if every mission was, like, get a certain, like, type of trick to look really good on camera, and then every single thing was like a vignette, you get, like, a single small moment, that could be maybe a thing, and that would be more, like, akin to the real skating experience of, like, it's not just about riding around town and pulling sick tricks everywhere you go. You know, in the real world, that's not how skaters do tricks, generally.
Yeah, I'm worried this conversation is bigger than my opinion, because it's like, I like all the, arcade stuff. Like, it's...
Yeah.
We're
I'm speculating here as somebody who hasn't even played the game. So.
We're not talking about, like, oh, you gotta go with, one or the other completely. I mean, I like hitting, like, downright diagonal and a button, and that is doing a trick. I don't like how, a lot of the kind of extreme sports comeback has been more simulation-based. Like Steve, Mark McMorris, kind of the extreme sports comeback from a few years ago was really simulation-based, and until the Tony Hawk remake, nothing really did the arcadey style that extreme sports blew up by, doing. So I think, something with the Tony Hawk brand probably should have, that sort
some
of
that
arcade
stuff,
style. Going back to what you said at the very start of the video, hindsight is everything. In 2007, when this game released, it probably was the second worst Tony Hawk game, or very down there. But now,
what would
like,
the
oh my
worst have
god,
been?
Project 8 probably. I mean, Proving Ground's definitely better than Project 8. And
I would say
American Wasteland, your opinion of that is based on your opinion of the story or whatever. Technically, it has, basically the best gameplay, but, like, the single player sucked so much that it really
sucks the fun out of it.
Yeah. So, like, back then, it definitely is like, oh, Neversoft, you'll never recapture the glory days. But now, when the game's like $5 and you know that Robomoto fucked the franchise up for a decade, it's like, you know what? Maybe
they almost fucked the franchise permanently.
Yeah.
Like, Vicarious Visions was the exact right team at the right time to give the entire genre a kick in the ass. If Vicarious Visions hadn't done that, I mean, I don't think we'd have a new skate game coming, and I don't think we would probably even have, like... I mean, like, there are small teams doing things like Skateburb or Street Uni X, friend of the channel, Daffodil's working on, but, like, I don't know, I don't think like, even if a lot of teams are working on that stuff, it's still, like, the audience wouldn't necessarily be there. You need a big name out there so that it can draw attention from the wider gaming audience to look into the genre further, so that the indie projects can kind of come out.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Oh,
you go ahead.
No, I was just going to ask if you had something.
Oh, okay. One thing that I kind of noticed in this game, that's a change even from Project 8. How much of this game, like, in the story mode, like, in comparison to Hawkman, that I'm because you guys kind of mentioned how both Hawkman and the classic mode kind of feel out of place, and I kind of realize how much of this game is actually spent doing lines.
Really like not much. There were certainly some things in the game where I was like, I feel bad that I do this so little. Like, this is such kind of a small thing, but, like, all the Flatland, and that they, revamped the animations and added, flip tricks for every Flatland kind of thing. I was excited to show that off in Project 8, and I'm glad I did, because there was almost never a time to do that in Proving Ground. That was either never what you needed to do, or was the optimal best thing to do, or the thing that came naturally. Like, at what point in this game do you just manual and then start hitting the face buttons to go into, like, a Casper to Switchfoot Pogo, There's not a place for that anymore.
Yeah, and I mean, specifically talking about lines, what we just witnessed was, like, 64 pellets in a line. Well, I guess the rest of the pellets here are in a line. And until that very end...
check this.
Oh, God.
Jeremy Rogers, no.
No. Buddy.
He's being pulled to the, oh, gosh, what's it called? I was going to say the thing from Stranger Things. Anyways, but, like, the thing about it is, like, we just watched a line of 75 pellets. Go back and watch that footage. I was paying attention while you were talking to the line. It's basically a hallway where you're grinding on one of the sides. Like, it's not like in the older games, the lines were like, you'd go way up in the air, and you'd go to this place and that place, and you'd go places you couldn't, in theory, walk. But, like, in this game, you can just walk the line. The only reason you're grinding that line is because the game requires you to be grinding to get those pellets. Not because you have to be, you have to grind to even get there. Which is what I think differentiates me. And that's part of the ethos of designing levels to be realistic versus designing levels to be just, like, absolutely buck wild. You know? Like, this just looks like a realistic skate park.
Yeah, in all the old games, you know, we were always asking, like, how the hell could anyone who's not a skater traverse this world? You know?
Yeah.
To where, like I said, like Tony Hawk Underground 1 and such, it was like you'd imagine a skateboarding architect designing a city to have great skate lines first and foremost.
Yeah, you know? And like, the only part of that sort of idea that is left over is, oh, it looks like somebody installed quarter pipes everywhere.
Yeah.
Like, everything else is basically realistic.
Yeah.
I will also say, you know, it reminds me of that one, I don't remember, maybe it's an apocryphal story, but somebody was asked about how to design levels, I think for Doom, and their first piece of advice is put in bathrooms. Like, make sure you know where all the bathrooms are in the level. And that's good advice if you're trying to make a really, really realistic level, I guess. But, like, doesn't really help if you're trying to make a fun arcadey level.
I think it wasn't, maybe it was Doom, but the one that comes to mind that sounds like that is Bungie's game Oni, where they consulted with an actual architect to, like, design the areas and such. So you play the game and it's like you're in an office building that genuinely would work as an office building, and it's like, but does this contribute to level design?
Yeah, does this make the game better? Arguable.
I've actually never played
immersive, bro.
Yeah, I never played Oni either.
I'm surprised I dredged that out of my brain when you went down that path.
Yeah, well, I mean, we should get a copy of Oni and just try it.
I've always wanted to play Bungie's marathon games, and they're free through, like, some, like, thing.
The source code got released. So
fucking emulation, you know, some weird DOS emulation. But I'm completely crap at anything that requires more than one step or so. So it's like, if I can't just buy it on Steam, I'm not gonna end up playing it.
I downloaded an Apple II emulator and, like, got it all set up back in high school, and, like, literally within a week of me getting it set up, they released the source code. And, like, somebody had already ported it to Windows. And I was like, God damn it! I just got this thing working. That said, I did still have to have that thing working so that I could play Pathways into Darkness, which has not had its source code released. And it is really, really hard. That Pathways into Darkness is a super weird game. But, yeah, like, the Marathon series is really interesting. And, it's actually tied, I believe, with another game for the first first-person shooter to feature dual wielding. Yeah, it released on the same day as, I'm forgetting what other game it was, but it was another first-person shooter that had dual wielding. Then it also had, if you remember the Maulers from Halo 3, it had dual wielding one-handed shotguns in Marathon.
Nice.
And it's a really fun game. It's a little bit spooky, and it's very much one of those old school FPSs where you can get really lost. So if that bothers you, you may just prefer to watch someone else play it. But the story's really neat and stuff.
Yeah, I'm worried that in the back of my head it'll be one of those where I do get to playing it and it's just so, you know, old and outdated by
you're just like,
standards. I just remember, I think it was for Marathon Durandal, like this wallpaper or picture where it was like a giant zoomed out view of a city and a huge fucking ship like in orbit above it, and it was just such a crazy like concept
Yeah.
art image or something that stuck with
Yeah, I
me
think
and
that
always
is
made me
pure
think
Randall.
like the marathon series would be like really crazy.
I mean, it is really cool. It's just I miss those days.
I'm gonna do something surprising, and I'm gonna talk about something we're seeing on video.
Holy shit.
Stalling on the shoes. This is pretty frustrating because you got a rail
dear.
stall, and you actually got to be pretty precise. And once again, you're not in the best fine-tuned control of your speed. So like,
Oh
you
my
saw
god,
me,
and the fucking trees, yeah.
yeah, you saw me mess up this third shoe here, and it's like, if you mess that one up, you might as well restart, because there's no, like, when you're locked into Lansdowne, there's no other way of getting on that line than going back to the start of it. So it's just, you know, it's not just grind the shoes, it's, you know, jump and know you're going to
Land.
rail stall and land on them specifically, yeah.
Yeah, I would have made that grind the shoes. I wouldn't have made that.
Yeah, it kind of annoyed me.
Yeah, that sounds very
Yeah.
frustrating.
But
Canuck.
that
Canuck.
Yes, sir.
Do you have an old game that you've wanted to play for a long time but you haven't? And don't say something like FIFA and then some number.
Sorry. Good.
What were you gonna say? Blake?
I was just,
No, I was
yeah,
just
don't say FIFA and then some number. Like where it's like
Well.
the middle one in a series.
Well, there was something that I've been wanting to try that is related to FIFA that I did end up
Okay.
eventually trying. It worked pretty mediocre, but it was still an
Okay.
interesting concept. If you're aware of the Football Manager games, like, you know,
Yeah,
best-selling
vaguely
game in
aware of
Britain
them.
every year, FIFA used to have a competitor to those. They made their own FIFA Manager games, similarly in depth, but also you couldn't actually play the games. But FIFA 2004 and FIFA 2005 had a feature where if you had both games, if you had FIFA 2004 and at the time
5.
it was called Total Club Manager 2004, if
Oh
you
my
were
god,
playing
this
a
is
total,
the worst tree placement I've ever
Why
seen.
do I keep
Oh my
bouncing
God.
off this tree? Okay, go ahead.
Sorry.
I think that deserved a mention.
You remember how I had the Thug 2 remix walk?
Yeah,
that's-
Classic mode of Proving Ground. We have the Proving Ground.
classic mode
Tree.
reset goal.
No, the Proving Ground. Well, if
Tree
it's not
physics.
working, stop, go back even further and try it from even further away. I think we're gonna see here where I try to grind on a fence, and every fucking time I can't. Yeah, here, like I can't manage to do it until I eventually like slowly skate all the way around this area and line myself up more than I had before. Yeah, like by the time this didn't work, I was like, what the fuck?
I'm
So
going
it's just like,
over there.
very slow, like get the biggest run up possible, because apparently that's what you need. Yeah.
Oh dear.
I actually have some on this point, but so like Football Manager, yeah. So
Oh, yeah,
I'm not trying to rush you. I just want to make sure this doesn't take like 5 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I do have a few answers to this question that I would like to talk about. Maybe that's just something for off video.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then a quick thing I'll mention of a game that I did play as a kid and learned recently that it's more available to play than I thought. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer has been ported to PC, and you can buy it on Steam for $10.
Oh.
Also, I think it's on Switch now. I
Really?
think. Don't quote me on that.
Oh, but
I remember
Wasn't
that being
that-
news too.
Wasn't the N64 version the thing that we were screaming at in Alan's basement?
yeah. If anyone like only played Star Wars Episode 1 Racer as a kid, go back and try and play it now. It's so fast that you have no control of it now that you're twice as old. Oh
Yeah,
my god.
You need like a baby's reflexes, because if you have begun puberty, you're too slow.
You're
You are too slow. Because it is insanely fast. We're sitting there in Alan's basement, and his parents are trying to sleep, and we're getting so close to beating this one. I don't know who it was, like if it was a level or like a single racer or whatever. We were just trying to beat it. And like initially we were playing against each other, and then eventually it was just like we were passing off between. I think it was me and and Tinker, and I don't know who else. But we were just passing the controller back and forth and trying to beat this one thing. And it was nightmarish how hard it was.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure Tinker like wore out his throat from screaming at the screen. I don't even rage at games that much, but like just the blood boiling in the room led me to a fever pitch as well.
Me and the boys getting absolutely guttural over games.
Yeah.
I'm trying to. I vaguely remember having like a similar experience with like a completely different game. Of like, this had to have been like decades ago, back when like me and my family members were like as equally good at video games. Because I'm the
You
only one
didn't
who.
exist decades ago.
I'm
Sorry.
Decade and a half ago, when you were
I don't know why
-3.
I'm piling on the Canucks young jokes right here at the end of 2020, but
Because I am.
go ahead.
I'm not normal age yet.
Yeah.
I think I told. I guess I'll just tell the
Canuck,
story.
don't
because
forget, in November, for my birthday, someone wished me a happy 40th.
Oh,
I'm not 40. For the record, I'm 28.
oh dear. Oh dear. I think I told this story before. That the first game I ever played was Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4.
Oh, wow.
First time I was playing it. Yeah. That was 5 years after it came out, by the way. So it was after this game came out. But I made it to the San Francisco level at some point, and I somehow accidentally unplugged my controller.
Oh.
So it brings up the prompt on screen that, like, the controller in port 1 has been unplugged. Please continue by replugging it back in and pressing the start button. I didn't know how to read.
Oh.
So I didn't know why I couldn't keep playing the video game. So I started crying.
This is where my story ends.
Yeah. Not with a bang, but with a minor
Whimpering
temper
child,
tantrum. Yeah.
You know, the first video game I ever played was probably Crash Bandicoot, actually. But not because... No, definitely not Crash Bandicoot. I think it might have been the original Smash Bros. Because I went over to a friend's house after school. Really more like a neighborhood kid's house. And we only hung out with them because they had an N64. But we played Smash here and there. But the first game I have like real solid memories of playing would probably be Crash, which is interesting because I hate Crash Bandicoot, and I never owned a PS. Well, I did own a PS1 actually, but I owned one game for it, and it was, I believe, Star Wars Rebel Assault 2, which I don't know why they bought that for us. It was very hard for a small child. I was far too stupid to really get what was going on. I won't say that I was too young, because I'm sure there were younger kids than me who understood. I was just stupid.
One of the first gaming memories that I have, well, the first gaming memory that I have, again, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 4, the day we got it, me and my sister were playing. She's 2 years older than me, so she was still in like first or second grade or so. First thing we did, create a skater, make a naked guy.
Yeah.
First thing we did. And then we went to the college level and like no complied around for like an hour before my dad came in and saw that we had made a naked man. He fucking turned the game off.
One of my earliest gaming memories involves a kid named Matt, not related to Matt Trox, who wasn't
Matthew
born
Trox?
yet. No, not Matthew Trox. He wasn't born yet.
Oh dear.
But I was in elementary school, and this kid named Matt, I remember his last name, but obviously I'm not going to say it.
It's Trox. Pretend it's Trox.
I remember his stupid face as well. Because this kid, first of all, he showed me what Neopets was, and I remember thinking, oh, that's kind of neat, I guess. And then he claimed to have made it.
I remember this guy now.
At which point I said, no, you didn't, and then he punched me in the face.
Yeah.
And I was at his house So I had to sit there and hang out with him for another like hour and a half, waiting for my mom.
Power move.
You're in my house now, bitch.
And so I hung out with this kid who punched me in the face, like really hard. And his mom like yelled at him.
Because you doubted his claim that he invented Neopets.
Yeah. and so he was the first one to show me Sonic Adventure 2, believe it or not.
It all comes back to Sonic.
It all
That's how
comes
you know
back.
this is an aesthetic series. It mentions Sonic Adventure 2.
Take a shot every time I mention Sonic Adventure series.
Alright, that just sucked.
Yeah, but basically, that's that. After that, you know, his mom made him watch me play Sonic. And I said thanks. That was also the very first time I'd ever witnessed anyone do this thing that I don't think I've ever seen. I don't think I could have gotten away with it if I had not been with a white family. Specifically, we went to a grocery store, and she was like, hey, do you guys want anything? And, like, gestured towards, like, Gatorade and juices and whatever. And I was like, oh, yeah, thanks. And I grabbed a Gatorade, and then, like, Matt grabbed one, and he just started drinking it right then and there. Before getting to the cashier. And I was mortified. I was like, oh, God, we're thieves. What have I gotten myself into? I'm gonna have to go into hiding. And then, like, she was like, oh, no, don't worry about it. You can drink it, too. Like, it's fine. We're gonna pay for it. And I was like, well, I know we're going to. We're going to pay for it with our lives. And then, like, and she was like, no, we'll pay for it with cash. Because I'm buying this. And I still didn't drink it until I got out of the store and we'd already paid for it. But she and he had just, you know, they drank, like, Gatorade or whatever it was. You know, I don't even remember what drink it was. But they had theirs, and I felt so awkward. And like, yeah, no, I don't think I could have gotten away with that with like my mom. I don't even mean like my mom wouldn't have put up with it. I mean like if my mom had tried that, we would have been stopped.
Yeah, that's definitely a suburban white person thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I feel like in the back of my mind, I feel like I encountered a similar situation where I've never done it, but I've heard that it was, you know, okay as long as you show it and pay for it.
Yeah.
It's
like your family is the type of family who wouldn't do that, but would also be aware that they could do that if they wanted to. Your sister might do it. Maybe. I don't know. If she was with her friends and they were all doing it, that kind of thing. What I'm saying is your sister's easily peer pressure. I'm just slandering her character. Hey, she's not here to resist my character assassination, right?
She's definitely, you know, a lot more mature now than
for
she
sure.
hung out with her, like, late middle school friend group.
Yeah, her late middle school, high school friend group.
College now. This is not...
Yeah.
Graduated college now. This is not that it was like 1 year ago. I don't have any gaming stories as a kid. I had a pretty normal gaming childhood. My first console was an N64. My first game was probably Super Mario 64.
You didn't get punched in the face over Neopets?
I do probably have one story that is as wild as that, but I don't want to say that.
Oh.
You know, just...
Off recording?
Yeah, I had Super Mario 64. I had, you know, my fascination with playing games that no one else had probably started with Iggy's Wrecking Balls on the N64. Who else had that?
I don't know what that is.
See, like, everyone else played, like, Legend of Zelda, or, you know, the other big, you know, things. And sure, I had Super Mario 64, like I said. Probably came with the console. But then I had, like, Iggy's Wrecking Balls.
Oh my god.
While everyone else was playing 1080 snowboarding, I was playing Twisted Edge. That's always been a game I've kind of wanted to play for my channel, but...
Canuck, you gotta see the cover of Iggy's Wrecking Balls. Here's the cover.
Oh, dear. Oh, no.
Yeah, it's... Yeah.
That's very acclaimed.
You should look it up.
That's very acclaimed.
You know,
well,
actually...
Why would you do this?
It looks like... I think this is... Yeah, this is the Japanese cover, and it looks significantly cuter on the Japanese cover. That's
not
cute.
bad, I guess.
That's not bad.
You can throw these up on screen.
I think I think seeing the cover of Iggy's Wrecking Balls there summarizes my gaming life entirely. Up in like
one image. You seem happy, and then you look over somewhere else, and you see people playing other games, and you go, "Oh, okay."
Those are the games everyone else is playing. Okay. So that was Baltimore's classic mode arcade. That was Baltimore's arcade machines. Next time we'll do Washington D.C.'s arcade machines, and that'll probably be the final video for Proving Ground, and the final video for Tony 20.
Oh boy!
Yeah.
And are you gonna do?
See you next time.
Are you gonna do at some point in Sedix 2020 Skate when you cover the Skate series?
You know, I was thinking about that, but I could talk about our future plans.
We'll hold off for 8 years.
Yeah.
When I'm 48.
Hey, and I'll be 47.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, see you next time.